Om Gananam Tva Ganapatim Havamahe Kavim Kadinamupamashya Vastamam Yeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anasrunvanmurti Dasadanam Om Shri Mahaganadhipataye Namah Om Vrishabham Charshaninam Vishwarupamadabhyam Brahaspatim Varenyam Om Tadvishno Paramam Padam Sada Pasyanti Suraya Divi Vachakshuratatam Om Shlim Dhrim Jyotir Brahmaya Namah. Can everyone say Hare Ramakrishna 3 times? Om Hare Ramakrishna Hare Ramakrishna Hare Ramakrishna. Om Parasaraya Namah 3 times. Om Parasaraya Namah. Om Parasaraya Namah. Om Parasaraya Namah. Om Ghanish Surya Aditya Om 3 times. Om Ghanish Surya Aditya Om. Om Ghanish Surya Aditya Om. Om Ghanish Surya Aditya Om. So where are we? Verse 12, you said. We finished 12?
Start from verse 12.
We have to start from verse 12, okay.
Kamala Yoga and Vapi Yoga done.
Kamala Yoga and Vapi Yoga are done. Okay, so 12 is done. Okay, now we start with 13. Yupo Lagna Chaturbhasthaihi Sarasturya Chaturbhagaihi Shaktir Madat Chaturbhasthaihi Dando Madhyat Chaturbhagaihi Yupo Lagnat Chaturbhasthaihi. Yupo Yoga is Lagnat Chaturbhasthaihi. Chaturbhasthaihi means in the 4 signs. Tha means station. So all planets are stationed in the 4 signs from Lagna. Then it is Yoga Yoga. In other words, 4 signs from Lagna means Lagna, 2nd house, 3rd house, 4th house. All planets are in those 4 houses. No other houses have any planets. And of course we talk about only 7 planets here, not nodes. Then it is Yoga Yoga. And the other one is Turiya Chaturbhagaihi. Turiya means 4. From 4th house, Chaturbhagaihi. 4 signs have all the planets. So that is called Sara Yoga. And the next one is Shakti Yoga is Madat Chaturbhasthaihi. Mada means 7th house. So from the 7th house, 7, 8, 9, 10 contain all the planets. That is called Shakti Yoga. And finally Danda Yoga is Madhya Chaturbhagaihi. Madhya means basically the middle of the sky, basically 10th house. So from the 10th house, the next 4 houses, 10, 11, 12, 1. So if all planets are within a couple of quadrants, from one quadrant to another quadrant, then one of these yogas is formed.
So and all planets should be in the houses or?
Any house. Suppose you have all planets in 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
One of them may be empty also. First house may have 3 planets, second house may be empty, third house may have 3 more planets, and fourth house may have 1 planet. So overall all the 7 planets are contained within first to 4th houses. Then it is called Yoga Yoga.
Now the Shakti Yoga.
Yeah.
I mean, my son has 7, 8, 9, 10, all planets.
All planets in the houses from 7 to 10?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is called Shakti Yoga.
What is actually the...
My daughter has the previous one, Sara Yoga. Okay, we'll come to what it means. Now obviously, did Parasara say anything about what this means? No. So, he intended us to figure out what these stand for based on the names. The names were given in a logical way and you have to figure out from the name. Now, what are these names? Yopa, Shakti, Sara and Danda. These are the names. Where are we?
Yopa.
Yupa, Shakti, I lost the page. Yeah, Yupa, Sera, Shakti and Danda. So these are all basically 4 different weapons. So what is the meaning of these yogas?
Yupa means plant.
Huh?
Yupa, is it? Yupa?
Not Yupa, Yupa. I'm not actually 100% sure what Yupa is. I know that it's one of the, it's a weapon, but I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, so let me not translate it. But Sara obviously is the arrow, and Shakti is,
What? The
huh?
beam.
It's basically, yeah, Shakti is the one that Subramanya Kartikeya holds. It's basically like a spear. And then Danda is,
A stick.
yeah, it's a stick with which you beat somebody.
But are these anything subsect of Grahamalika Yoga?
Yeah, these are subjects of Grahamalika Yoga, absolutely. These are special cases of Grahamalika Yoga. Okay, so what is, if planets are between 2 quadrants, what is the meaning of it? What do quadrants stand for? What is first house, what is fourth house, what is 7th house, and what is 10th house? First house is who you are, and fourth house is whether you have a direction to do what you want to do. It's basically the peace of mind, peace, comfort, and in general direction in life. So fourth is direction, who you are, your direction in life, and 7th is your motivation, your desire in life, how charged you are, how motivated you are to do something. And finally, the last one is 10th house, which is how you struggle, how you strive in life, how do you get things done. So it's basically the house of getting things done. So, what it means is, from the first house to fourth house, basically there is a theme between, based on those 2 houses. From the 4 to 7 there is a theme. From 7 to 10 there is a theme. From 10 to 1st there is a theme. So based on it, whichever houses contain these planets, the results are accordingly. For example, if you take Danda Yoga, Danda is stick. What is different between, let's say, Danda and Sara? Arrow and stick. In the case of stick, you have to have patience. You have to basically keep hitting. So somebody came to you, you keep hitting the person, you don't give up, you just keep doing it, and then finally the person loses. On the other hand, if it is Sara, what do you need? You don't need to keep hitting. You are at a distance. Probably you are isolated from the person. You are not even in front of the person. The person maybe doesn't even see you. Maybe you are on top of a building and somebody is 2 miles away and you just take aim and shoot the person or release the arrow. So it's a matter of having good aim, having focus. You are patient, you find the right time to hit, you get to the focus and then you hit it. And then it goes and hits it. So the thing is, what is the one that starts Sara Yoga? 4th house. And 4th house is the house of having direction. If you have good direction in life, basically, in all these yogas, because these are weapons, people basically get some important work done in all the yogas. But the thing is, in the case of Sara Yoga, so bottom line is the source of the 4 houses is the important one that decides the essential result of the yoga. So if 4th house is starting this Grahamalika Yoga, this 4 sign Grahamalika Yoga, what it means is the person has a good direction in life. He knows what he wants to do. He is clear about what needs to be done. So the thing is, it's a matter of taking good aim and then just letting the arrow go. So the person has a good aim. He knows what he is hitting. It's not like somebody is near you, you just panic and you keep hitting the person. You know exactly what to hit. You try to hit the bullseye with the arrow. So basically that's the kind of, if the 4th house is the initial point of the yoga, that is the kind of result that you would expect. Whereas 10th house is basically somebody who gets things done. 10th house is the work of karma, the work that you do. So if 10th house is starting the yoga, the person is a karma yogi. He just keeps working in his life. So if 10th house is the initial house of this yoga, the person, like a danda, that keeps hitting the person until the other person faints. The person is patient and he just keeps executing his work. He is a karma yogi. With Sara Yoga, he is basically somebody very focused. And with Yoga Yoga, first house is the initial house. So, first house is who you are. So the person is he has certain talent. He just gets things done because of who he is. Because of the personality, the very strength of one's personality. One has such a strong personality. Now you said your son has 7th house, right?
Yeah.
Now with 7th house, what is 7th house? What does 7th house show?
Strong, your desire.
It's basically desire. So you want to do something. Your intentions to do something are strong. So thus, it's not about having a good direction, knowing exactly what to do, or it's not about being patient and keep working hard. It's about having a serious intention. I want to do it. Let me do it. That kind of being charged up. So Shakti, what is the essential nature of the weapon Shakti compared to arrow or danda? Shakti is not something with which you keep hitting the person like danda. At the same time, it's not something that you release like an arrow. You can release like an arrow also. It's basically something that you can throw. It's basically like a spear that you can throw at somebody. So you can throw it, but the thing is, it's bigger than arrow. It's very difficult to focus it on a point. So it's not about focus. At the same time, it's not something with which you hit somebody who's right next to you. Even though you may, when somebody is next to you, you may hit him with the spear. But the thing is, it is for medium range. It's a medium range weapon. It's not a long range weapon like arrow. It's not a short range weapon like danda. It is a medium range weapon. So it's something, it's versatile. You can hit somebody. When you just have to keep hitting somebody, you can use it. Or when you have to take aim, you can do it, but in a coarse way. But the thing is, it is when you know what you need to do. It's a medium range weapon. When you know what you need to do, when you have a strong desire to basically get it, you basically use the weapon. So what it means is the people who have Shakti Yoga, they have a strong desire to do something, and whatever they have a desire to do, they will basically somehow get done.
Or they might achieve it through their relations.
Why relations?
Not relations, I'm not saying they're relative, but I'm talking
See, in all these yogas, the
Drawing
person,
about public spending.
yeah, in all these yogas, people don't go take weapons and go and hit people. Obviously, they get things done either patiently or through persistence or through aim.
interaction with people because
Excellent. Okay, so 7th house is not just desire, but it's the house of interactions with people. So basically, how they get things done is decided by the 7th house. So that's a very good point. Yes. But basically the thing is they are go-getters. People with Shakti Yoga are go-getters. Of course, you have to see where other planets are, how Lagna Lord is, how Third Lord is, how Mars is. Just because all the planets are between 7th and 10th houses, you can't say somebody is a go-getter. But by itself, what their combination says is somebody motivated by a strong desire and somebody who's a go-getter. The next verse is Lagna Saptama Gair Nauka Kutasturyacha Saptamaihi Kshatrakhya Saptamadevam Chapam Madhyadva Saptagaihi Lagna Saptamagair Nauka. Lagna Saptamagaihi Nauka. If all the planets are going to the 7th from Lagna, meaning 7 houses from Lagna, then it's called Nauka Yoga. So all the planets are in Lagna, 1st house, 2nd house, up to 7th house. So starting from Lagna up to 7 houses, all planets are contained there. Then the yoga is called. So the thing is, this is a superset of somebody has either Yoga Yoga or Shara Yoga. He will also have this yoga, Nauka Yoga. So this is a more generic yoga. But this yoga is more common compared to those yogas. Those are rarer. This yoga may be found in more charts. So if all the planets are in the 7 houses from Lagna, then it is Nauka Yoga. What is Nauka? Ship. Kutas Turyacha Saptamaihi. Kuta means gang or group. Group yoga or gang yoga from Turyacha Saptamaihi. Turyat from 4th house, Saptamaihi in 7th sign. So 7th sign starting from the 4th house has all the planets. Then it is Kota Yoga or the gang yoga, a combination of a gang. Then Kshatrakhya Saptamadevam. If all the planets are in the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 1 houses, the 7 houses from the 7th house, then it is Chhatra Yoga. What is Chhatra?
Umbrella.
Chhatra means umbrella. Then the next one is Kshatrakhya Saptamadevam. Chapam Madhyat Dhasaptagaihi. Chapam Madhyat Dhasaptagaihi. From the 10th house is 7 houses contain all the planets. It is called Chapa Yoga. What is Chapa? No, that's Telugu. In Telugu, Chapa means fish. That has nothing to do with the Sanskrit word Chapa. Chapa means an arc. Chapa literally means arc of a circle. It can also mean a bow, because bow looks like an arc of a circle, like in bow arrow. So it means either a bow or arc of a circle. Now, what do these yogas mean? Again, the yogas, if you see, these are all yogas of different kinds of grouping. What is Nauka? It's a ship. And what is Kuta? It's a gang of people. And what is umbrella? Umbrella is umbrella basically. Now the thing is, instead of just taking it as an object umbrella, you have to basically see what is the common theme in all this. The previous one, if you see, Yupa, Sara, Sekti and Ganga, there's a common theme. They are all weapons. So there has to be a common theme. It can't be just randomly say a pillar yoga, a bird yoga, a animal yoga. He won't randomly put. This is one grouping. Planets from one Kendra to the next 7 houses. So there is a logic. So obviously there has to be some commonality. So you have to. So the thing is, you may say that because there is a commonality, you have to find a commonality. You have to expand the meanings a little bit. You don't say Chapa means just a bow. That's it. A bow as in bow arrow. Maybe something else. You have to extend the meaning slightly. So extend the meaning of all the 4 and then find something common. Can you try that?
I think these
Ship
things have something to do
can
with protection. Basically something that provides protection, because when it is Chakra Yoga, umbrella basically gives you a protection. Shade.
Yeah. Umbrella gives you shade from sun, right?
So similarly, arc or a bow also.
And what does Nauka do? It protects you from sinking in the water. Yeah. So it basically keeps you afloat. Nauka doesn't necessarily mean somebody has ships or he owns a lot of ships. It is protection from water, protection from sinking in water. And Chakra is protection from sun, getting burned in sun. And what is
Kuta yoga.
Huh?
Kuta.
Kuta then?
Kuta is protection from a group of people.
A gang basically. You have a gang of people. So you have people supporting you. Support from people, and support that helps you from, makes you float instead of sinking, and support that gives you shade when you are in trouble, basically give you some relief from the trouble. And finally, Chapa. What is Chapa then? What does bow stand for? What kind of support does bow give?
Yes, deliver it. I mean, if you have a pillar,
You have what?
in construction, if you have an arm, usually keep
Yeah.
to support.
Yeah. Exactly. Very good. So the thing is, Chapa could also mean an arc on a roof, which basically makes the roof from falling, for example. It's basically something, arch basically. Instead of calling it an arc, a bow, we can translate Chapa as an arch. So an arch that supports a structure. So the one given, the last yoga, Chapa yoga, can be some structure that gives you support. And Kota yoga can be a gang of people who are supporting you. And Nauka yoga can be when you are in trouble and when you are sinking, basically keeping you afloat. And finally, Chatra yoga can be shade, some relief when you are getting burnt. Now, why first house, 4th house, 7th house and 10th house associated with these specific results?
That's where the actions happen. That's where the real, in this world where we need to do things, something related to things, or related to that happening in the world, the pillars.
Yeah. Okay. So, first, 4th, 7th, 10th, these are the pillars. But the thing is, why? First is associated with the Nauka yoga, and 4th is associated with the Kota yoga, and so on. Why?
Maybe the attitude of the person, In the Nauka Yoga, it may be the attitude of the person which keep him afloat.
Okay. So you are saying first house shows the attitude of the person and okay. Keep going. Keep thinking. I'll just give you a couple of minutes and then I'll say what I think. But keep going. You are thinking well. Yeah.
Fourth house, when you see, like, maybe there are surrounding people which is there to help you when you are in trouble. Seventh house, there is somebody in your life where it's going to give you shade.
Do you think that these yogas, the meanings will make more sense not with the starting house but with the middle house? Because the thing is, if all the planets are between first and seventh houses, basically the middle quadrant is fourth. They are on either side of the fourth house. So instead of associating the Nauka Yoga with first, if you associate it with fourth, and Kota Yoga with seventh, and let's say Chhatra Yoga with the 10th, and finally Chapa Yoga with the first. Does it make more sense? Think about it. Kota Yoga is basically about gangs, people who are supporting you. It's about your PR, your interactions with people, your friends and the support infrastructure that way. And seventh house is your interactions and your PR, your public relations. So that is the center. Planets are on either side of that house. So basically support from a gang makes sense. And Chhatra Yoga with the 10th house. Now Chhatra Yoga between 7 and 1, but that means the center is 10th house. So planets are on either side of the 10th house. So why Chhatra is, like we said, Chhatra is umbrella which supports you from heat, but also Chhatra is a symbol of the position that you have in society. Like a laborer who is working, he doesn't get an umbrella on his head. He keeps working hard. He sweats, but he keeps carrying stones, carrying whatever big loads. Whereas the person who is supervising his work, he is doing nothing, but he has a nice shadow over his head. He has an umbrella. So also kings have Chhatra, right? Chhatrapati they are called. So the thing is, Chhatra is not just something that saves you from the heat. It's basically a sign of authority and position in the society. So the thing is, 10th house is the house of the work that you do in the society and your status in the society. So if this yoga is given by planets on either side of the 10th house becomes the focal point of this yoga. So basically the person is protected by the status. The person, it gives good status. The result is 10th house oriented. Okay, so Chhatra is associated with the 10th house and the Kuta is with the 7th house. And what about Nauka? What is Nauka Yoga? What does Nauka Yoga mean then? It is first to seven houses. That means the center is 4th house. 4th house is your vision in life, your clarity, your direction in life. So the thing is, if you are clear about what you are doing, your direction is clear and you are peaceful basically. Your mental peace is there. You are happy about what you are doing, you are comfortable with what you are doing. Basically, that comfort and that clarity will keep you afloat. Even if there is some trouble, you don't basically sink in the trouble. You keep afloat like a ship keeps people afloat. So it's basically a yoga which makes you keep afloat despite troubles in life, because you know where you are going and you feel like you are in charge. So that's what Nauka Yoga means. Kota Yoga means you have good PR and people come to support you. Chhatra Yoga means you have good status, you do good work, and then because of it you are protected in the society.
But why would he have given the other order then?
Huh?
Why would he have originally put in
No, he is giving the right order only, but instead of saying, he said Lagna Saptamagaya. He didn't say it is associated with Lagna. He said from Lagna in 7 houses all planets are there, then it's Nauka Yoga.
That means we take 4th as the...
Then I am saying, he said 7 houses from Lagna. I am taking the middle house 4th as the center to justify.
Okay.
The next one he said, from 4th house, 7 houses contain all the planets, then it is Kota Yoga. So I am taking the 7th as the center and justifying it. So that's what I am doing. He gave in the right order only. He didn't specifically say the first house is important or last house is important or middle house. I am basically speculating based on the meanings, so that there is a consistent meaning and consistent philosophy behind the names. Because the only clue he has is name and the grouping. He didn't randomly mix yogas. He basically organized the yogas in groups of 2, 3, 4, 7 like that. So these are groups of 4 yogas, the last 4 and this 4. So I'm basically trying to find a common theme which is either linked to the starting house or the middle house. In the previous case, where you have a yoga based on 4 signs, the starting house seems to be important. Whereas in this combination, this set of combinations where there are 7 signs involved, the middle house seems to be important.
So in this case then, Kala Sarpa Yoga also will be coming in this picture?
Yeah, okay, if somebody has Kala Sarpa Yoga, he may have one of these yogas. But the thing is, Kala Sarpa Yoga is, let's say, from 2nd house to 8th house. It's not between quadrants, then it doesn't cover. This is a special case. Planets are in a quadrant or 3 signs on either side. Basically.
Yeah, but Kala Sarpa or Kalamrita will be having a link with whether it's starting with Rahu or Ketu.
I know, but the thing is, there also, all planets will be in 7 houses.
Yeah.
But the problem is, those 7 houses may not be aligned to quadrants. There may be planets from the 2nd house to 8th house, or 3rd house to, starting from the 3rd house to 9th house. In which case, it's not one of these yogas. And the thing is, so Kala Sarpa Yoga is not a subcase of this, and this is not a subcase of Kala Sarpa Yoga because this doesn't involve Rahu Ketu. Even if we interpret that this involves Rahu Ketu may not be at the edges. They may be, actually, if this involves Rahu Ketu, they have to be at the edges. They can't be in the middle. But the thing is, these yogas are supposed to not involve Rahu Ketu. These are supposed to be only 7 planet yogas. So, okay, now the last one, Chapa Yoga. Now what does Chapa mean? It is all planets in that 7 houses from the 10th house. So the center is 1st house. So, and Chapa means, like we said, arc or arch. So what does it mean? Well, like we said earlier, Chapa or arc is basically an arch that supports. And Lagna is basically the talent of the person, the stability of the personality, the overall personality. So, certain qualities that in the person which are supporting whatever is happening in life, basically the character of the person which is supporting whatever happens in life. That is the result of this yoga, Chapa Yoga. The next verse. Lagna dekantarasthaischa षड्भगैश्चक्रमुच्यते लग्नादेकान्तरस्थैश्च षड्भगैश्चक्रमुच्यते धनादेकान्तरस्थैस्तु समुद्रः षड्ग्रहाश्रितैः. Okay. Chakrayoga and Samudra Yoga. Lagnat ekantarasthaischya. Interesting. Starting from Lagna, ekantarasthai. Ekantara means eka antara. One difference. In one different signs, which means alternating signs. Starting from Lagna in alternating signs. Shadbhagaihi. Shadbhagaihi means Shadbha. 6 signs. Ga. Having gone into. So all planets having gone into the 6 signs, starting from Lagna and alternating. So basically all odd houses. 1st house, 3rd house, 5th house, 7th house, 9th house, 11th house. So planets are only in the odd houses. Then it is called Chakra Yoga. Wheel. Chakra literally means wheel.
It's a very odd combination.
It's an odd combination, but it's not so rare actually. It can happen. Yeah. I don't have an example off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure you can find. Because probability wise, mathematical probability wise, it's not so rare. It's probable. It has a decent probability. So you should find. The other one is obviously all even houses, right? So this is a 2 yoga combination. The other one is Dhana dekantarasthaistu samudra shagbraha shridaihi. Then it's called Samudra Yoga. Either wheel or ocean. The 2nd house, 4th house, 6th house, 8th house, 10th house and 12th house. They contain all planets. It is Samudra Yoga, ocean yoga. So one is called wheel, the other is called ocean. And one is odd houses, the other is even houses. So why? What is going on? What is the meaning of this? Of course you can say, this person has this yoga, this person has this yoga. But what do you make out of it? What does the yoga stand for? What is common between wheel and ocean? And what does it have to do with odd houses and even houses?
One is gain, another one is travel. One is the gain.
Samudra, you think Samudra stands for gain?
I think Samudra stands for more of... No, Samudra means travel.
Travel? And wheel means staying in one place. Wheel also travels. Car has
You will have changes, good and bad coming equally.
Yeah.
Changes. What comes back goes back.
What comes back goes back. Okay. By wheel you mean a circle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Repetition.
Okay. So let's say wheel stands for repetition. Then what does ocean stand for? No, he hasn't finished. Let him finish and then your opinion. What does ocean stand for then? Okay, he has nothing to finish. You go ahead.
Depth.
Yeah, okay. So his point is Samudra has depth. So wheel doesn't have depth. It has width.
Depth means very stable and very calm.
Okay. So wheel keeps rolling, whereas Samudra is
Calm.
stable. Calm. Is it really calm? You should go to water and see. You should look at all the waves. Anyway, but it is kind of stable.
I think Samudra possibly has something to do with Saumya Guna or more like a calmness or maybe I know it could be aggressive.
Okay.
Wheel possibly is more aggressive than a Samudra in terms of aggression or the calmness of the person maybe.
Wheel is more aggressive than Samudra. If a wheel comes on you, not much will happen. If ocean, if tsunami comes on you, so many people die. So it's not really, you can't really say that ocean is Shanta. Of course, ocean can be aggressive, like in tsunami. So many tens of thousands of people die.
It's like up and down.
Yeah.
Look at an ocean.
Ocean goes up and down. Wheel also goes up and down, but it's not up and down. It's basically, it goes in circle. But the thing is, what does it have to do with? Okay, so there is some nice commonality or difference that you have found. The thing is, what does it have to do with odd house and even house?
I thought in different way because I thought with the last house since he covered then 11th and 12th. The 11th house of gain means they come on
Yeah.
of like you lose and gain or something. Then 12th house of travel, that's what I thought Samudra is involved.
Okay. So that's it. Now you're speaking. Now the thing is, in this combination where there are planets in alternating houses, obviously there will be one house. When that happens, there will be one house which governs, which is important for the results, like the first house or 11th house or the one in the middle. Basically there are 6 houses, so there is no middle house basically. You have 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. So it is either 1 or 11. In the other case it is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So it is either 2 or 12. So one of them basically is the key. When you find this kind of pattern, the result has to be associated with one of those. Now from that angle, what do wheel and ocean stand for?
Wheel will never go out of the sea, so you will be in the...
What?
You will never cross continents. Sea means then you will go across land. If you leave your own place, you will go somewhere else.
Okay. So your take is that wheel yoga is basically a yoga for staying where you are born?
And you will be traveling in your own place.
Okay, a lot of travel but not necessarily long travel.
Yeah.
And you think that ocean shows a lot of travel, away, long distance travel. That's a valid viewpoint. But the thing is, whether something so fundamental will have to do something about something specific like traveling is questionable. It is a tenable interpretation. The bottom line is, I also don't know the perfect answer. We are speculating here. Only if you have...
When you said about travel, maybe
Yeah.
so.
What else can you think of? Chakram and Samudra, wheel and ocean.
Generally, is when you refer to Samudra, you look at knowledge as a vast ocean and chakra as Kala chakra or something which returns back.
Yeah.
So once you start with 1 and you end up with 11, means you are looking at the Lavasthana, you would have to come back in the same cycle of plus and test. When you're dealing with houses like 2 and 12, which finally shows you emancipation and knowledge.
Does 2 show emancipation? Okay, 12 shows.
12 shows that.
Yeah.
You're ending up there. So and one shows it's a repetitive pattern that's happening.
Okay.
And the other one basically shows you never know what you're going to get from a sound. It's so vast and...
Okay, so bottom line is, unless we have some real case studies, we can't really say anything confidently. One possibility is that because one combination we saw where the initial house was determining the result, Another combination where the middle house was determining the result. So it is possible that in this combination, the last house will determine the result. So you have planets starting from 1st to 11th, in the other case 2nd to 12th. So you can say that 11th and 12th house will control the results. And you can say that 11th house is the house of what? It is the house of the gains that you make in life. So the focus of life is making gains. But the thing with gains is you can never just keep gaining. Once you gain, you basically invest and then you gain more. It's basically a cycle of wanting more and getting more, wanting more and getting more. Whereas 12th house, Samudra, ocean, is very vast like you said. And ocean symbolizes vastness and completeness. And it symbolizes also it's a great giver. Ocean has so much wealth under it of different kinds. So ocean is a great giver. So the focus is magnanimity basically. The ocean is magnanimous. So the focus is on magnanimity. 12th house is the house of giving. So
and everything culminates in it.
Yeah, everything this yoga culminates in the 12th house. So one possible take is that this yoga is to be, these two yogas should be judged from the culmination house. And in one case, it's a matter, one is in the cycle of, one is basically materially successful and keeps gaining, and one is in the cycle. In the other one is basically a magnanimous giver.
Or you can say the even ones are going to be the person is more spiritual and the other is more materialistic.
Yeah. Spiritual or not, let's not go there. Again, we are being too specific. Instead, somebody who is a big giver and somebody who just keeps running after more and more.
More and more.
So, Wheel Yoga is running after more and more because 11th house is the culmination, and Samudra Yoga is being a magnanimous giver. You may get a lot of money, but you may also spend and give others. You may help others. So, magnanimity is the key, like Samudra. Okay, we'll stop here. So, we are on verse 15. We'll go to examples. So we have to start from 16. So remember that for the next class. We'll start recording. So from this class onwards, what we are going to do is, just like I am doing on the list, on the Yahoo groups, we'll switch to Surya Siddhanta. I will make a release of the software soon. I'm basically comparing some fine calculations with Sri Vinay Jha. So it will take a little more time, but we will soon release it. So you will also be able to replicate these calculations. But before I do that, I want to create a little body of knowledge before I release the software. So, just to give a background to those who missed all these things, Surya Siddhanta, the background is this. It's just a calculation. Surya Siddhanta is not new astrology. We are still using the same astrology that we used before, except that the planetary calculations are based on Sri Surya Siddhanta. It's an analytical model. Sri Surya Siddhanta is an analytical model, and in the old days, that's what people used. For example, at the Varahamihira's time, Varahamihira spoke very highly about Surya Siddhanta. So, presumably he used Surya Siddhanta for his calculations of where planets are in the sky.
So it is just about calculation?
It's basically a planetary calculation model. But the thing is, if you calculate using Surya Siddhanta, you will see that the positions you get are slightly off compared to the physical positions. They are not exactly at the physical position. They may be off by a couple of degrees, and sometimes even off by 7-8 degrees. So, but the thing is, that is at this point of time. If you go back like 3000 years, for example, then the Surya Siddhanta positions and the physical positions are actually considerably different. They are not even nearby. So, one speculation that modern astrologers in the last century made is that Surya Siddhanta was just an approximate model that people using telescopes, they came up with formulas and then so that you can calculate. And these are just like NASA made observations, except that NASA did not come up with any formulas. NASA just plotted things and they gave you the curve and then you extrapolate it. That's what all the ephemeris today do. Whereas in the old days, people made some observations and they plotted them in some nice sinusoidal curves, some mathematical curves. They found the nearest. They did some curve fitting and came up with some formulas. So this is how you find sun, this is how you find Mercury. So they came up with the formulas, and Surya Siddhanta is nothing but those formulas. So as time evolves, as time moves on, those formulas become the error because you did curve fitting to find the best formula. The error becomes higher. So those formulas are no longer valid. You have to use the Dhruv Siddhanta. So this is one theory, one approach that became popular in the last 100 years. And as that happened, all the traditional astrologers who were using Surya Siddhanta also moved to the Dhruv Siddhanta, which is based on current observations. So NASA model was adopted. Jehora, for example, supposed a NASA model, which is based on NASA model. And so many other softwares that are popular today, they use the NASA models. But the thing is, there are two factors to note. One is, old people until a century ago, they respected Surya Siddhanta so much and they considered that to be, they actually used to worship Surya Siddhanta as a Rupa of Veda. Just like some people worship Chandipat book, Saptati as a manifestation of Veda and worship Veda books. They actually put Surya Siddhanta book and worship it as God. So there is a lot of respect in the traditional circles for Surya Siddhanta. That is one factor. The other is, if you look at Nadi Granthas, most of them are based on Surya Siddhanta. They are not based on Dhruv Siddhanta. If you look at the form, for example, Narayan was telling me, he went to a Nadi reader and got a nice reading, and his Mercury is at the end of Pisces. Whereas if you use Dhruv Siddhanta, he is clearly in the third or fourth degree of Aries. So even with any Ainamsha, Ramana Ainamsha, any Ainamsha you take, he is in Aries. But it is in Pisces. Like that, there are several people whose planetary positions given in the Nadi Granthas, they match the ones with Surya Siddhanta. And also actually Nadi Granthas are popular in Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, a lot of traditional astrologers do use a variation of the Surya Siddhanta even today. So Surya Siddhanta and people like Varahamihira recommended Surya Siddhanta. So, and Varahamihira is reputed to have made predictions up to hour. Very fine predictions. So if he was just using curve fitted models, whether he will be able to get such fine accuracy or not is debatable. So the bottom line is, there is some evidence, there is no proof, but some circumstantial evidence suggesting that maybe there is some worth in Surya Siddhanta. So the thing is, but the problem is this, Surya Siddhanta is a text in Sanskrit, and all poetic text in Sanskrit is written in such a way that some details are clear, some details need to be extrapolated. Just like we did in the Nauka Yoga, Samudra Yoga, or Chhatra Yoga, we had to build the context and understand it. It was basically some dry hints and some context around it, so has to be built so that it makes some uniform logical sense. So that problem is there. So in different traditions, Surya Siddhanta may be interpreted slightly differently. Even though when I compared the model that I added in Jehora with some other models that are not model but some other Panchangas that are available online, they are very close. And they are considerably different from the Dhruv Siddhanta. But the bottom line is, there may be variations. So whatever Surya Siddhanta model that I have put in Jehora may or may not be perfect. So bottom line is, when this gentleman called Vinay Jha, he's a monk and he's a publisher of a few Panchangas from a few mutts in North India, including the Puri Shankaracharya mutt. So that person, when he offered me the software, he basically said, I'll give you my Visual Basic code, you convert it to C++ and add it in Jehora. The only condition I have is, don't reveal the formulas to people. You can give the calculations so that they can use the software and calculate, but don't reveal the formulas, because I'm under oath to my Guru not to reveal. Certain preconditions have to be met before I can release the formulas. So keep the formula secret, keep the code secret, but you can give the execute rule to people. So at that time I approached it very skeptically, because I was happy with the Dhruv Siddhanta. And moreover, this is a big paradigm change. What happens is, when you change the calculations, Rashi chart will mostly be the same. Only in border cases where you have a planet on the edge of a sign, it may change sign. So, but most of the charts, Rashi chart will be the same. And if you find just Vimshotri Dasa, well, moon's longitude may change by a degree or half 1 degree. But the thing is, it won't change dasas that badly. Dasas and the dasas will mostly be the same. But the thing is, divisional charts will be different. So all the planets may be totally different signs in the divisional charts. For example, in my Vimshamsha, Jupiter was in Libra earlier, now he is in Sagittarius. Like that basically. Planets may change a sign or even two in some cases. In Saturn in my Vimshamsha was in Aquarius, now he is in Capricorn. Venus was in Virgo earlier, now he is in Libra. So planets may change by one sign, but Mercury was in Gemini, he is still in Gemini. Moon was in Cancer, he is still in Cancer. So some planets may remain in the same, around the same degree. Some planets may change by a couple of degrees. So based on it, the divisional chart that you are seeing may see some changes. So the thing is, all the divisional longitudes are going to change. If you find the longitudes in the divisional charts of planets, they will be considerably different. So the thing is, in the beginning I was very skeptical. Even now, I am not fully convinced that this is correct. But let me put it this way. Quite honestly, all the astrology that I have done until now and I have taught you, it's not really, I was never convinced that this is scientific or this is absolutely replicable. In other words, we have some principles when we use them, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work, and overall they seem to be working okay, we seem to be doing okay. But the thing is, I was never convinced that there is a very clear way, clear formula to say, given this data, this is what I can declare that this is very likely. We are basically speculating, and chart is basically a tool for speculating. And some speculation is more, we are more confident, some speculation we are less confident. But the thing is, we never really had a clear formula. And we were trying to come up with new methods which were slightly more replicable than the previous methods. We were trying to make progress, and we were making progress. But the thing is, like I said a year back, the light in the room keeps getting bigger, but it is never really bright. Basically, there was a small candle, and the candle is burning brighter now. But the thing is, it's not really bright like sunlight. So we are searching for that sunlight. And the thing is, in my opinion, if we don't find that sunlight, there's no point. This kind of astrology, whether you use Surya Siddhanta or Drik Siddhanta, whether you use Charadasha or Narayan Dasha, whether you use Tithi Ashtotri or Tajaka, whether Tithi Pravesh or Tajaka, whether you use divisional charts or just Rashi Navamsa, doesn't matter. You can still make good predictions. People have made good predictions. But the thing is, what I was always in search of, and continue to be in search of, is because I do believe that the knowledge of the rishis has some things that work brilliantly. And even with what we had, there were certain things that were working nicely. For example, Tithi Pravesh chart, Tithi Ashtotri Dasha. There are some things that work nicely. But even those don't work always. There are exceptions where we are baffled. But the thing is, because we are egoistic, we can't say it doesn't make sense. We somehow make sense. We somehow say, when you give predictions, it's very easy. It may or may not come true. You just say it. But the thing is, when somebody comes back and says it didn't happen, why? There will be some factor that you can find. But the bottom line is there a procedure that you can clearly write down and use the procedure and say, okay, this dasha has a very strong chance of marriage. Did marriage happen in this dasha? Like that basically. Did we, using Vimshati dasha for example, we justify, Jupiter is associated with the 7th house, is dasha of marriage. But the thing is, do we have a formula that tells you exactly this dasha must give this result and this other dasha must give this result? No. So the thing is, given the importance given to Surya Siddhanta by ancients, what I thought is it is worth experimenting with. So I reluctantly added it to the software. My first thought was, just put it in the software at least. If somebody wants to play with it, they will play with it. But the thing is, being an inquisitive person, after I put it in the software, I started playing with it. And what happened is, when I used it with the techniques that I already knew, like Tithi Pravesh, it was working as well as the previous one. My spiritual guru asked me, Manish asked me, is it working? Is Tithi Pravesh working with this? I said it is working, but it was working earlier also. It's not working any better or any worse. It's basically, which means I was seeing shapes in clouds. I still can see shapes in this clouds using this formula. So, in other words, there is something that seems to be working, but it's still not crystal clear. But the thing is, there was some technique that seemed to work much better than the previous one. For example, Tajaka, the Vashapal, the solar return chart. When I used it with the Drik Siddhanta, it was so-so. I was never fully convinced by the accuracy. And this seems to work better, more consistently than the Drik Siddhanta. And secondly, a few ideas, I will slowly go over them. I won't go over all of them today. I will slowly go over them in the next 3-4 months. A few ideas that came to me long back, which when I tried on with Drik Siddhanta, which they did not work. they actually started working very nicely. When I started experimenting with the Surya Siddhanta, these are based on divisional charts, taking divisional charts very seriously, taking them as Rashi chart basically and doing some interesting stuff with them. For example, I wrote a small article in the Yahoo groups on Chardasha, right? The Chardasha of the divisional chart. Take the divisional chart as Rashi chart, because Parasara said Chardasha is a very important dasa for making predictions among the Rashi dasas. It is the king of Rashi dasas. And if you use Chardasha, if you do it the way people do today, like K.N. Rao does, he gives value to Chardasha. You are calculating based on the Rashi chart. All that decides the dasha is which sign is occupied by Lagna and the 9 planets. So as long as that is fixed, Chardasha is fixed. And how you interpret it? It is based on, again, how planets are placed on the dasha sign. So again, if you see somebody who is born now or somebody who is born 1.5 hours later in the same Lagna, they will share the same Chardasha, same Rashi chart. And you are interpreting the Chardasha based on Rashi chart alone. You are not looking at divisional charts. So if you use Chardasha as taught by K.N. Rao or anybody, you will get the same readings for people born 1.5 hours apart. He gives he waxes eloquent about why Rajiv Gandhi became Prime Minister in this dasha. But the thing is, there are so many people born in the same Lagna, they did not become Prime Minister. They may not have even had success in career. So the bottom line is, it is agnostic to the specific time, and you know that there are twins who are born 2 minutes apart but having different phases in career and getting married at different times and having different fortunes in marriage. And you can justify them using the Navamsha, Dashamsha, etc. But the thing is, when it comes to Chardasha, you don't have a way to factor that in. You think that you have a nice Dasa system, but it doesn't distinguish between people born 1 hour apart. How good is it? So, of course, he will give justification saying, Dharkarka is aspecting this, so the event happened. Third Lord is aspecting it, or third house is aspecting it. But the thing is, if you use that kind of logic, any sign can give the result. If you say third house aspecting, or third Lord aspecting, or DK aspecting can give brother, or Mars aspecting can give brother, pretty much any sign is capable of giving a brother. So, like that, the justification is given. Because Charkarkas are going to be the same in a 1 hour span of time, mostly, and because the Rashi chart is going to be the same, there's no varying factor. So the thing is, I experimented with my thought that I got a year and a half back was, you have a divisional chart, it has Lagna, it has houses. So Chardasha is about seeing when different houses give you the result in the life. Starting from the first house, you either go clockwise or anti-clockwise, and each house gives its result for a variable amount of time in life. And then you see when a particular house gives its results. And to see the judgment, to see the interpretation, Parasara gave clear rules. He gave a lot of rules on judging Chardasha. He did not say this is only for Rashi chart. So he said there is a Rashi chart which shows physical existence, Navamsha which shows marriage, Dashamsha which shows career, Vimshamsha which shows spiritual life, Chaturvimshamsha which shows learning, etc. So he gave all these charts to exist. He did say they have houses, they have Lagna, they have planets. So why can't you find Chardasha in those? So as a matter of fact, I will say even finding Jyotish is justified. Because when you say moon is in, let's say my moon is in Aquarius in Rashi, physically he is in Aquarius, but he is in Gemini, in Navamsha. I always say Navamsha is not in a different zodiac. It's not like there is a different Gemini called Navamsha Gemini or Navamsha Aquarius. The same Gemini which is in the skies there, that is in Navamsha chart too. It's not that Navamsha is a different chart. What Parasara said is, Navamshas of planets exist in this zodiac. So physical moon is in Aquarius, and Navamsha of moon, which is an abstract point, that is in Gemini, in the physical Gemini only. Similarly, Dashamsha of moon, for example, if you take my chart, Dashamsha of moon is in Scorpio. So Dashamsha of moon is in physical Scorpio. So you have only one physical zodiac. And planets that you plot, normally when you say Rashi chart, you plot physical planets. When you plot Navamsha chart, you are plotting the Navamsha planets. When you plot Dashamsha chart, you are planning the Dashamshas of planets. So you basically have Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, etc. Navamsha of Sun, Navamsha of Moon, Navamsha of Mars, etc. Dashamsha of Sun, Dashamsha of Moon, Dashamsha of Mars, etc. All these plotted in the same zodiac. So you can have one master chart also. Parasara never said make different charts. He just said this is how you find Navamshas of planets, Dashamshas of planets. They all exist in the same zodiac. So the thing is, if that is the case, if my moon in Navamsha moon is in Gemini, he's in the vicinity of a star. In Gemini, a particular arc is a star. So he is against a star. So that is my Janmat Nakshatra also, if you take Navamsa. And Navamsa is the key for seeing marriage. So if you want to see my marriage, taking the Vimshoti Dasa or Ashtotri Dasa or any Dasa that you take, from the Navamsa, Dashamsa, etc. of planets, it's not really totally illogical. But the thing is, when I tried that, I knew this 3 years back, this logic I knew. But the thing is, when I tried it, it was all nice. The thing is, of course, even the things that I thought may be nicey, the thing is there is some signal. When I see that there is some signal in this, I basically say, okay, I accept it. But this was just nice and there was not really any signal that my mind could detect. So I basically ignored that research earlier. Same with Chardasha. When I found Chardasha of the divisional charts, it was just nice. There was no signal there. That could be because there is error in the planetary positions in the divisional chart that were found using Vriksha Siddhanta. But the thing is, once I switched to the Surya Siddhanta, then I found Vimshote Dasha or other conditional Dashas using divisional longitudes, which you can do using Jehora, by the way, even now. And then I started using Chardasha in divisional charts, which you can't do now, but I will make it available. When you start doing that, basically there was more consistency. I could suddenly see lot more signal than I ever saw. Still there is some noise, which I have to figure out. Basically, I don't understand either calculation, how to judge the strength of Mars and Ketu or Saturn and Rahu in the case of Chardasha, or in the case of Vimshote Dasha, when to pick which Dasha, which Nakshatra Dasha. Still there is probably some lack of clarity. Similarly, maybe there is some error in the model, planetary model, maybe there are still some errors. Maybe, you never know. So like or maybe in the way of interpretation, I'm used to wrong calculations and I accepted wrong interpretations and my mind is conditioned to see things that way. Maybe I have to go back and pay attention to exactly what Parasara said and undo some of my learning, which I am in the process of doing. So as we do all these things, the noise to signal to noise ratio may increase. But the bottom line is I'm comfortable at this point of time, based on the work I have done in the last few months, that this gives far higher signal to noise ratio. When I use Surya Siddhanta, when I use Chardasha, when I use Varshafal, when I use the divisional Nakshatra Dasha, Vimshote Dasha, it gives far higher signal to noise ratio than what I am used to before. So the thing is, people may say anything they want to say about me. They may say he's gone crazy. I don't really give a damn. I'm not here to impress anybody. I'll just do my job, I'll go. At the end, if there is work, and if it is destined to be followed, it will be followed. If it is destined to be lost in the pages of history, it will be. I don't give a damn either way. So, I basically concluded that this is worthwhile. I'm switching to this. So, I basically switched to it. So, once I switch to it, obviously, the class will be switching to it. The thing is, you personally, in the class, will be using that. But you personally, what you should do is, you should experiment. And like I said, as far as interpretation, how do you interpret things? There may be still some details that need to be unlearned and relearned. So the thing is, this may evolve over the next couple of years. But the thing is, based on whatever I understand, whatever I have seen to work with the Surya Siddhanta model, I'll be using the Surya Siddhanta model in the class from now onwards. Okay?
Are you going to make them the default in the software?
No. Why?
I'm asking.
I'm not thinking of making it default because there will be a lot of confusion. Quite honestly, my firm belief is in the next few years, people will not be following this. People will experiment and say, it doesn't work. Because they are used to such a logic. They'll say, okay, when I got married, what was the Dasa? Oh, this. Okay, no. Basically, they will try a few things like that and they'll just move on. So my gut feeling is, most people will not actually end up using this. Maybe after 10 years, after 20 years, people may start using it. The thing is, I don't think time has come for people to actually start experimenting because some more work is needed for people to embrace Surya Siddhanta on a large scale. I think Vriksha Siddhanta is here to stay for a while. So I won't make it default, but I'll make it available. There will be one menu item which you can click and say, and whatever you need to basically use Surya Siddhanta Ainamsha, you need to use Surya Siddhanta for planetary calculations. When you do those two, you basically get this model. So there will be one menu item that you can do to get this.
Are you in software, are you getting the flexibility to find out, for example, to consider Navamsa chart as my Rasi chart and get the Sutri out of it?
Yeah. Even now you can do that. Yeah. If you go. if you go to Dasas, right? See, I'll
What is the question? Use Navamsa to get...
taking the Navamsa chart or Dasamsa chart as the Rashi chart and find Vimshatri Dasa in it. Basically, like I said, my moon is in Purabhadra Nakshatra in Aquarius. But thing is, he is in Gemini. If you use the Navamsa, my moon is in Gemini. 1 second, I'll show you. Yeah. But that is available even today. So my moon is in Punarvasu. If you use the Navamsa chart.
He didn't sleep more than
Hmm?
The moon is in Gemini.
Yeah. He's in Purabhadra, based on divisional longitude using Surya Siddhanta. I don't know using Druk Siddhanta, but you can find out. You can find in the Vimshatri Dasha, in the options, at the bottom there is a divisional chart that you can pick. Is it on? I have to do this now. Oh, I haven't connected. No, you connected. Oh, sorry, wrong button.
Focus chart.
ఫోకస్ ముందర అది వస్తే చేద్దామని.
Yeah, now it's good.
Is it clear?
బాగుందండి.
Okay. I'll make the font bigger.
Font bigger, yes.
Can you see now?
Yeah, good.
See, if you go to options, Janmatara, Navamsa, you pick whatever starting point you want to use, Janmatara, moon or Lagna or sun. You can start Dasa from anything, like you always do. And then you pick the Navamsa here. Then you get based on Navamsa. And the thing is, actually using Druk Siddhanta, when does the Saturn Vimshatri Dasha start?
No.
If you open my chart,
In normal Rasi Vimshatri.
yeah, no, Navamsa, using D9.
Okay.
How did you get to this screen?
Actually, I'll open.
Click on options.
Vimshatri, click options.
Okay.
And then at the bottom there is a Rashi, Navamsa, etc. Default is Rashi. Now you say Navamsa. Now the thing is, if you go to my divisional longitudes, all divisional longitudes, Navamsa moon is at 24 degree Gemini, whereas Rashi moon is at 29 degree 20 minutes Aquarius. So the thing is, it's almost in a trine. So the dashas will almost be lined up. So not much difference when you use, in my case, between Rashi and Navamsa. But there is slight difference. So if you see, when I got married, it was in the Saturn Antardasha, Shani Mahadasha and Saturn Antardasha. And the thing is, Saturn is Yokarka. If you look at Navamsa itself, Saturn is a Yokarka. Yokarka is aspecting Lagna. See, lot of Parasara's thumb rules like benefic planets, malefic planets, aspecting Lagna, aspecting 7th house, aspecting Lord. We have basically ignored all those and we were looking for thumb rules involving the house of interest. Anybody having to do with 7th house can give marriage. This is how we were approaching astrology earlier. But the thing is the planet auspicious for it? There are a lot of basic guidelines that we have learnt in the last few months, right? When we went through the slokas of Parasara. Now the thing is, when your calculations are correct, you can actually now go back to Parasara and use principles in a classical way. So if you look at this chart, Saturn is a Yokarka and he is aspecting Lagna. He is in the fourth house, but he is aspecting Lagna. So he can give marriage. And Saturn Dasha gave marriage. But the Antardasha is important. And Antardasha is, 7th Lord is in the 7th house, Mars. So Mars Antardasha is an excellent candidate for giving marriage. And it was basically Saturn Mars from 93 April, March 31 till 94 April 27. I got married on August 1, 1993. Similarly, you can see various divisions. For example, let me take the D24, right? In D24, earlier, when I got state first, when I stood state first and when I went to IIT Madras, when I got selected to IIT Madras, when I had all those academic distinctions, which was in 1987 May, June time frame, at that time I was running Saturn Dasha, Moon Antardasha. So with the Druk Siddhanta, let me go back to Druk Siddhanta and normal Vimshatri. I will open that also.
So you just showed Surya Siddhanta model, right?
Yeah, that was Surya Siddhanta model. Now I am switching to the Druk Siddhanta just for comparison. I'll open the same chart. This is Jagannatha Hora if you look at the question mark. Jehora 7.4. So if I use normal Vimshatri Dasha, this was Saturn Dasha. So normal, what we have been doing so far, using that, and let me open my D24 because that is the chart of learning. Saturn Dasha, Moon Antardasha, that was running from 86 to 88. So I got state first. And you can say Moon is in the Moon is in Lagna. Lagna is fame, so he gave fame. But the thing is, he is second lord. It's not really like a great benefit. It doesn't show great distinction.
Something totally different from what you're saying here.
Are you using? I'm using Jagannatha Hora. Even with Lahiri, you will get the same. Are you using Lahiri Hora?
But this is Vinsotri T24 or Vinsotri?
Vimshottari. Normal Vimshottari. Yeah, normal Vimshottari.
Okay.
I'm using, so 19.
So you have not changed to D9 to regular.
You are still in Rashi
You're
Vimshottari.
in Rashi Vimshottari.
No, yeah, Rashi Vimshottari, that's what we've been using until now, right? So Saturn Dasa gave the, Saturn moon gave the economic distinction. We basically said, well, Saturn, he's in the third house. Well, actually, quite honestly, Saturn in the third house is good. He can give success. But the thing is, he gives a lot of initiative, a lot of determination, etc. Does he give success in competition? It's debatable, but the thing is, it is conceivable. But moon, why moon and Dasa? From Saturn, moon is the 12th lord of laws, and he is in the 11th house. From Lagna, he is the second lord in Lagna. That's not really showing success in competition or something important in life relating to education. We still justify it, saying, moon is in Lagna, Lagna and 6th house are fame. See, the thing is, that's just pseudo logic. And it is easy to sell such logic. And the thing is, when we are lucky and when we are destined to help somebody, it is possible to give nice readings also with that logic. I'm not here to give nice readings. Nice readings anybody can give. Without astrology also you can give. With a wrong horoscope also you can give nice readings. Brilliant readings you can give. If God blesses you. So the thing is, I'm not here to tell people how to give good readings. I'm here, my job in this life is to find, if possible, a replicable method. Not just, if you just want to give good readings, any method will do. For example, there were days when I just made a prasna and said, God, please, if I should say so to this person, make Jupiter aspect so-and-so house in so-and-so chart by greater than so-and-so percentage. And then based on the answer, I will give guidance. And people were happy. So that is also possible. You can do, if you really want to help somebody, if you are really simple and pure, you can help without astrology. Using tarot cards, anything you can do. So the thing is, if you want some replicable method, Parasara gave some simple guidelines, we just ignore them most of the time because it's not convenient. But now, let us go back to the, instead of this model, let us go back to the Surya Siddhanta. This is now, see, Surya Siddhanta. Now, the D24 chart is different. If you compare with what you have on your screen, Saturn is in now Lagna. Lagna is Jaimini, Saturn is in Lagna, Moon is in the second house, Mercury is in the 5th house instead of 4th house, and Sun, Rahu, Ketu are still in the 6th house. Actually, Rahu, Ketu are changed. Yeah, Rahu, Ketu changed to Scorpio, Sun is still in the same house. Venus is not in Aquarius, but he is in Pisces, and Jupiter and Mars, they are in the 12th house. Earlier, Mars was alone, now Jupiter is joining him. So basically, there is a change in the planetary positions. Now, if you do this, if you look at this, let us say Vimshottari Dasa started from D24. So this result happened in the Mercury Dasa. 73 to 90 was Mercury Dasa. And that is when I did very well in studies. Not only state first and all those things, and having a 9+ GPA at IIT Madras out of 10. Not only those things happened during this period, but the thing is I won so many awards in so many competitions, painting, poetry, so many things I was into, and state level elocution competitions I won prizes, I had state level prizes in chess, I had so many distinctions in terms of learning, not just curricular learning but extracurricular learning, which is also seen from D24. And I had Sanskrit. When I was 10, I had a Samskrita Bhasha Kovida, which is equivalent to BA in Sanskrit. When I was 11, I had a Bhasha Visharada with distinction, the 80+%. So I had all these academic distinctions. And if you look at this now, Mercury Dasa was running. And Mercury is the Lagna Lord in the 5th house. So Lagna Lord is, according to Parasara, an auspicious benefic planet. And in the 5th house, when Lagna Lord is in trine, he gives success and fame. So he gives excellent learning, good scholarship. So during this entire Dasa, basically starting from the age of 5, I was learning something or the other. Even when I was 3 years old, I could recite more than 100 different Sanskrit slokas when I was 3 years old. So as soon as Mercury Dasa started, I started learning. So the thing is, and if you look at the actual distinction, the state first.
Even though he is Surya Siddhartha.
Pardon me? Yeah. So anyway, let's actually, Charadasha. So Charadasha, I mentioned that there is apart from Vimshati Dasa, there is Charadasha that I found to be working consistently. So I wrote on the Yahoo group, and for those who haven't read the Yahoo group article, I'll just summarize quickly. It is simply found like Charadasha of the Rashi chart. But the thing is, I don't use Kendra's method, I use Parasara's method, which is very similar, but there are some differences in seeing the strength of Mars and Ketu, Saturn and Rahu, and exaltation and debilitation. I add 1 year and subtract 1 year. Kendra doesn't do that. He basically ignores Parasara's clear directive, because in his mind, if Jupiter is in Capricorn, Sagittarius Dasha will be 0 years. It makes no sense to him. So he said, no subtraction and addition of 1 year. But I do those things. And one more thing I am doing is I am taking Scorpio and Taurus as the exaltation and debilitation of Ketu and Rahu. So instead of Sagittarius and Gemini. This was arrived at empirically based on examples. So that could be suspect. So these are the differences. Otherwise, but in any case, there is Charadasha of Parasara available in Jehora today, but for only Rashi chart. All I did is extended it to the divisional chart. Treat the divisional chart as though it is Rashi chart. So if you see my D24, for example, if you take the D24 chart and take the Rahu and Mars are taken to be stronger, and I think Rahu and Mars, yeah, they are stronger than Saturn and Ketu. So we'll accept that. So if you do this, 87 April to 96 April, the Dasha that was running was Pisces. So let's not go into Antardasha at this point of time. Pisces Dasha gave academic distinction, and the thing is, Pisces is
Venus exalted.
It's basically it has exalted fifth lord. See, Lagna, not only Lagna lord is in the 5th house Mercury, but 5th lord is exalted in the 10th house, which is again a good combination for fame and academic success. So this Charadasha was running. Moreover, one thing I found is, if you take the Charadasha sign based on the divisional Charadasha and see current transits of planets there, any good transits like the transits Parasara identifies are transit of an exalted planet, transit of Lord. So if such good transits happen in the sign or aspect the sign, let's say Jupiter is in one sign and aspect the Dasha sign, or the Lord of the sign aspect the Dasha sign. So when things like that happen, good results can be expected. Similarly, when the Dasha sign Lord is transiting in a bad house, let's say from Pisces, Saturn or Rahu is in the 8th house or Jupiter is in Malakarka Sthana, then it is a bad transit. So like that you can take transits from the Charadasha sign, taking that as the Lagna. So if you do that, at the time when I stood state first, Jupiter was transiting in Pisces. So Jupiter's transit in Pisces, when Pisces Dasha was running, which contains exalted fifth lord in the natal T24, gave academic distinction. At the same time, based on the Vimshoti Dasha, the Mercury Dasha was running. Let's say, let me take the Charadasha of Navamsha. If I take Charadasha of Navamsha, it was Scorpio Dasha that gave marriage. 90 to 2000 was Scorpio Dasha. It starts from Taurus and goes backwards. So Scorpio Dasha gave my marriage. And why Scorpio Dasha? Well, 7th house containing 7th lord. Simple. As simple as that. And secondly, the other lord is in the 5th house. Basically, if you use Parasara's classical guidelines, planets placed in trines are, they have access to the Purpunya of the person. So they use that Purpunya for the houses that they own. So 7th lord is in the house of Purpunya, so he gives marriage. I got suddenly married. It wasn't planned, and suddenly I found a nice woman and I got married. Nice girl and I got married. Very quickly it happened. So Ketu is in a trine and Mars is the Lord occupying the sign. So during the Scorpio Dasha I got married. And if you look at the transits at that point of time from Scorpio, Ketu was transiting in Scorpio. It's basically the Lord. Lord of the sign is transiting in the sign, and I got married during that time. And if you, for example, take my Dashamsha, and by the way, at the same time, like I showed earlier, the Vimshoti Dasha of D9 was Saturn Mars. You remember? Saturn Dasha, Mars Dasha gave marriage. And Mars is the 7th lord in 7th house, and it was Scorpio Dasha as per Charadasha. And Saturn is the Yokarka aspecting Lagna. So it is a much simpler case. Now, if I take Dashamsha, if I take the Vimshottari Dasha of Dashamsha, if I take Vimshottari Dasha of Dashamsha, when I joined my first job, which was in 93, when I joined my first job, 93 is Venus Rahu Antadasha. Venus Dasha, Rahu Antadasha. Why Venus Rahu can give marriage, can give career? Well, strictly going by Parasara's principles, Venus is a functional benefit. For Virgo Lagna, Venus is a functional benefit. And he is in the 11th house of gains. So he is a well-placed functional benefit. So he will give very good results relating to career. So he is auspicious. So career can start in his period. And why Rahu Dasha started the career? Pardon me? 6th house is the house of service. And he is the lord of that house. And is his placement good? Well, for 6th lord, 12th house placement is a good placement. He is basically giving Viprit Rajoga. For 6th lord, he is in enemy's house, exactly. He is in enemy's house, but he is in a he is a temporary friend. If you look from Rahu, Sun is in the 10th house, so he is a temporary friend. So a permanent enemy, but a temporary friend. So overall, he is a neutral. So he is a neutral house, and he is giving Viprit Rajoga. Basically, if he is a quadrant lord, being in quadrant or trine would have been good. He is a Dusthana lord, so being in Dusthana is quite good. So Rahu is basically well placed, and being the 6th house lord, he is quite capable of giving giving career, starting the career.
Generally, career starting, we look at 5th house.
Right.
So is that something you have to unlearn and then?
You try to relearn basically, try to examine it. But the thing is, 5th house is the house of Poor Punya. So 5th house may have a role. But the thing is, the thumb rule of anybody who is associated with 5th house will give career may or may not hold good. It only shows Poor Punya. Whether that Poor Punya is used for what purpose depends on what that planet owns, so many other factors. So the thing is, we have been, instead of identifying the exact reason and say, this is the reason, we've been basically being very approximate. We have some thumb rules. Anything near that thumb rule we basically accept. So that's our strategy. That has been our strategy. Simply because we knew no better. And simply because our planetary calculation model was wrong. So we had to do that. But what I am suggesting is, when you switch to Surya Siddhanta, you will be able to go back to Parasara and be more simple. Go back to the roots and pay attention to what the Rishi said and use simpler logic. And to use in a more consistent way. So some relearning and unlearning will be necessary. So if you do D10, if you do the D10 Jardasha, so 93 April, Aquarius Dasha started. So if you look at Aquarius, what is Aquarius? It is the 6th house. So 6th house Dasha started and then Keri started. And if you look at the transits on that day, it was December 10, 1993. Time is not relevant. You will see that there are 5 planets in Scorpio. So taking Aquarius Dasha sign as Lagna, 10th house has so many planets, including the 10th Lord. Mars is in one sign there. So 10th house containing 10th Lord along with so many other Lords, basically the transit triggered it. In the same Chardasha, different transits may trigger different events. Similarly, if you see go back to my Dashamsa Chardasha, if you see, not this, here, yeah. See, if you see, this is the Dasha when my career started. Aries Dasha was very unstable, 2000 to 2008. I was working at Picturetel, then I went to, I left Picturetel, went to a startup, and then the startup basically after 1 year they folded, they laid off everybody. Then I went to another startup, I worked from home for a startup in Atlanta, and then after 9 months I switched to another startup. Then after 9 months I found my current job. I started working for another startup which was acquired by Broadcom. So basically how many jobs? Picturetel, Poseidon, Aura, 5 jobs. I worked in 5 different jobs during this period, 2000 to 2008. During this 8-year period, I had 5 different jobs. And since then I've been in the same job, of course. Since 2004 actually. All these changes were from 2000 to 2004. And from 2004 I've been in the same job for 6 years. So, within 4 years, so many jobs. Now the thing is, Aries, if you see, it is the 8th house. Aries is the 8th house. So it shows a lot of instability. But the thing is, how is Mars placed? He's in Advitra Rasi.
Yes.
Right? Mars is in an Advitra Rasi. He's in a friend's house and Jupiter is close by, so he's an Advitra. So the 8th Lord, he's basically in a quadrant from the 8th house. From the 8th house taking of change as Lagna. He's in the house of fortune. And he's in an Advitra Rasi. So overall there was no big fall kind of thing. But it was a lot of instability. 8th house does show instability. Either big fall or instability. Lot of changes.
Can we see the Vimsotri at the same time? Please?
Yeah, we can do Vimsotri at the same time. Based on the Shamsya, right? So it was Venus Dasha that was running. The Venus Dasha was running and the Antardasha was that of Mercury. Now the thing is, but if you want to see that from Mercury, the thing is he is afflicted by Mandi Gurika and by the 12th Lord Sun, so he can give some fall. But the thing is, quite honestly, if you want to see it from Antardasha, it may or may not be visible because that losing the job, that particular, though I had a lot of changes, those were all basically initiated by me. There was only one where I was laid off. So that is an important event. But the thing is, if you want to see the layoff, I was laid off on August 12 and August 25 or so I basically accepted another offer and September 1st I started another job. So the thing is, it's basically a few weeks. And during that time I was getting the unemployment benefit also for a couple of weeks. So it was basically like I wasn't really, so Mercury Antardasha may not be able to show it. But the thing is, if you go to the Pratyantardasha, you may be able to see it. But I'll basically leave it for now. But if you go to Charadasha and transit again, I think it was August 12, 2002, I got laid off. So Aries Dasha was running, and if you look at the transits from Aries at that time, is there any combination of for getting laid off from Aries? Well, first of all, career is seen from which house? 10th house. And where is the 10th Lord? Third house. Third house of a break. So 10th Lord is in the third house of break. So during the transit, there is a chance of a breaking career. And it did come. There are other things also, like the 6th house contains 7th Lord, debilitated 7th Lord. So basically 6th house contains a marker. So from the Charadasha side. So there are things like this. And the thing is, if you see this Dasha, 2008, Taurus Dasha started. And very soon, in 2008, September, I got promoted as a manager. I accepted promotion as a manager. So, if you see Taurus Dasha, Aries was a lot of instability, and Taurus, this is the 9th house of fortune. Basically, classically, 9th house is the house of fortune. And it contains who? 9th Lord, which is a bad idea, which is bad, but it also contains 10th Lord and Lagna Lord, Mercury. And whereas this Lord Venus is in the 11th house. So if 9th Lord is in 11th house, it is basically quite good. So, so the thing is, getting a raise in the career is possible. And if you look at the time at that time, around let's say September 1 around, I don't remember the exact date, 2008. If you see the transits at that time, from Taurus Dasha sign as Lagna, you will see that the 5th house has bunch of planets, Mars, Moon, Mercury and Venus, especially Mercury and Venus. Why? Lagna Lord Venus, 5th Lord Mercury, together in the 5th house. More importantly, 5th house has exalted Lord, basically. So, from the Dasha sign, the transits are basically showing good going in the career. So like this, basically, I saw, when I suddenly remembered, one day after my homam in the morning, I remembered, there were some ideas that I tried in the past and junked. I basically said, okay, these are useless. I should try them again because now things have changed. This is a totally new model. So in the next couple of weeks, I basically coded divisional Charadasha very quickly, just a few lines of change in the software. I ran so many charts, so many events, and I discovered a few things. First of all, I had the uncertainty of Mars versus Ketu and Saturn versus Rahu. I had to experiment. Parasa's guidelines are clear, but there is still some ambiguity. So I experimented a little bit, and then I found what is working, what is not working, because Parasa gave so many guidelines for Charadasha. So I took a few that seemed to be working rather consistently. And then I discovered, is there anything interesting going on in terms of the transits? And then I found that taking the Chardasha sign as Lagna, because Parasara hinted at that. From Chardasha sign, planets in so-and-so house is good, like that he gave hints. And he never said this is in the natal chart alone. This could be in the Dasa Pravesh chart as well as in the transit chart. So I basically experimented, applied Parasara's guidelines to Gochara, to the transits from the Chardasha sign, and I found interesting results. But the thing is, there were some cases where Chardasha didn't seem to work consistently. And the thing is, now, bottom line is, astrologers can always justify. See, whatever I have said so far, right, it is very simple, right? But the thing is, there will be examples where you will not find simple logic. You will have to find complicated logic. In that case, one option is refuse basically that there is an explanation. Accept that something is amiss. And then, because now that there is a, in my mind, quite honestly, with the Surya Siddhanta, there is a solid foundation now. We are not standing on shaky foundation. So, use this foundation, be honest. Don't basically say, anything goes attitude basically. Astrology research and astrology readings, today's Jyotish world has anything goes attitude. So, junk that attitude and be very strict and demand a good explanation. And if you basically do that, things will, you will basically get good results. Let me give one final example. Let me take my spiritual chart. This window? Yeah, you are absolutely right. So let me take the chart of spiritual progress. So the thing is, I was spiritual from childhood. I was doing so many pujas, etc. From 94th January, I was doing this Lakshmi Ashtotram 108 times every Friday. Basically 108 names Stotra 108 times. Like that, basically several prayers, several slokas, several austerities I was used to doing, like every month, Satyanarayan Vratam, which takes a few hours. So like that I was doing, but the thing is, in 2004, my spiritual guru contacted me saying, you are doing so many pujas, but you are not experiencing anything. Your time has come to awaken your Kundalini. And in 2004, June, July time frame, he contacted me, and I took him easy for a long time. And there was a particular sadhana he wanted me to do, simply reading Gayatri, doing Gayatri Japam, but with a still body, absolutely not moving. And using the particular Rudrakshmala that he sent, he asked me to do, and he wanted me to maintain brahmacharya during the sadhana. And at that time, it was not possible for me to maintain brahmacharya, so I said, forget it. So one day I got a sankalpa to just do it. So on the Vaishakha Purnima day, when I was doing the Satyanarayan Vratam, I got the sankalpa. Well, let me just try it. So I tried it, and I think on the 18th day or so, I experienced something. It was a very profound experience. It was basically awakening and rise of the Kundalini. And let's not actually go into the descriptions, etc., which you can see in the Vedic Wisdom Yahoo group to some extent. So this was in 2005, June. So my awakening, which basically changed. Until then, I clung on to so many things. I valued what people thought about me. If people said bad things about me on a Yahoo group, I was sensitive. I was like, why are they saying this about me? Like that I was thinking. Now I don't give a damn. People say Narasimha is this or that. If I think that it is hampering my dharma, I have certain thing to do before I leave this body. So if it is hampering my dharma, whatever I need to do, I do unemotionally. I do it passionately. But the thing is, I don't really, what people say about me doesn't matter to me. The way I look at everything, because I know that this is just a game. It is just a drama. You may go to a room, engage in a drama for an hour, and then go out of the room. So it is, this life that we are living is exactly like that. And the thing is, when I say it intellectually, for you to understand it intellectually, and to follow it is very difficult, because the belief won't be there, conviction. But when you have seen, when you go out of the drama room and see the reality, and then come back to the drama room, you know that this is actually a drama room. So whatever script is given to you, you read the lines, you don't basically care too much about it. Earlier you take this so seriously, you are like, I have to say this? No, this line doesn't make sense. Or that guy says this about me, I don't like it. Like that you are fighting with the director. And the thing is, you are not the director. Director is up there. The director has written the script. So you are basically, instead of just doing your role, you are wasting so much energy fighting the director to change the story because you don't like the story. And you don't write the story, somebody else writes it. So the thing is, once you know for a fact that this is just a drama and you are just playing a role, you don't really care. You just, whatever script is given to you, you just read the script, you just say the dialogues and then you just move on. So this event was the single most important event in my life, spiritually. So that was 2005. Okay, so this was in Venus Dasha, Jupiter Antardasha. Venus Dasha, Jupiter Antardasha. This is the one that gave the spiritual awakening. Now the thing is, as far as Venus is concerned, simply going by classical rules, Venus is the Lagna Lord and he is in Mulatrikona. I know he is in the 6th house, but he is the Lagna Lord, he is in Mulatrikona. So he is a functional, he is a benefic basically. And being a benefic and being in Mulatrikona, he is basically very auspicious. So overall, his entire Dasha is good for spiritual progress. But the thing is, in 93 July he started. And it was in 94 January that I suddenly got a sankalpa. I read Lakshmi Ashtotram, it said, Bhagavare Satam Dhiman Padhed Vasramatrikam Ashteshwaryam Avapnoti Kubereyo Bhutale. It says, anybody who reads this for Bhagavare Satam Dhiman, every Friday he reads for at least 100 times this prayer. And does that for 1 year. He becomes like Kubera, he becomes rich like Kubera. So I said, yeah, that sounds cool. Let me become a rich dude like Kubera. So I basically started reading it. So I started doing it with the wrong attitude. But the thing is, some upasana, some serious sadhana started as soon as this dasha came. But the thing is, Venus is not really, even though he is a benefic in Mulatrikona, he is also the 6th lord of obstacles and enemies. So my spiritual sadhana during this period does and will have some enemies. It's not basically perfect, it's not pure. But if you look at the Antardasha in 2005, when my guru contacted me and later when I experienced, Jupiter Antardasha gave the event. 2003 May to 2005 December. So Jupiter, if you see, he is the 8th lord in 8th house with Norse. So 8th house, 8th lord in the 8th is Sala Yoga. And more importantly, in Vimshamsha, the chart of Upasana, 8th house is with Norse. Norse are the ones who give you experience. Experiencing the unknown. They can make you go beyond, break the barriers. And 8th lord, 8th is the house for that, for breaking the barriers. 8th is the house for out of the body experiences, etc. And it is also the house of Kundalini. So 8th house containing Norse and 8th lord, Jupiter and 8th lord under this are running. So it is basically a clear case. And secondly, if you look at the Chardasha, if you look at the Chardasha of D20, Rahu Ketu was stronger. So Chardasha, the Dasha that was running was Sagittarius. 2007, till 2007 Sagittarius Dasha was running. So it was the 8th house Dasha. So 8th house Dasha was running and the Lord's Antardasha was running as per Vimshottari Dasha. When both happened, the event happened. And if you look at the transits at that point of time, it was June 10, 2005. Jupiter and Ketu were in Virgo. And why that transit is good? Two things. One is, from Sagittarius, they are the Lagna Lord and the 12th Lord. So basically Lagna Lord and 12th Lord are conjoined, giving an experience. But more importantly, whatever I told until now is just the tip of the iceberg. Parasara said, you can see transits from the Dasha sign as well as the Bhoga sign, which is basically the Arudha of the Dasha sign. You take the signs from the sign, Dasha sign to the Lord, and if he's in the same sign, take the 10th house. If you do that, you will actually see that the Bhoga of the Dasha sign.
Take the Paka and Bhoga?
Yeah. So if you do that, you will see that it is in Virgo. The sign is the Sagittarius, Lord is in Sagittarius. Because it is the same house, you take the 10th from there. So you basically get Virgo. So the Bhoga Rashi has Jupiter and Ketu transiting in it. And they happen to be the Lord of the Dasha sign and the 12th house from it. And secondly, you can also see transits, just like you see from Chardasha, you can also see transits from the Dasha Lord of Vimshottari. So Venus was the Dasha Lord and he is in Libra. So in the 12th house from him, you have a bunch of planets. So like this basically, you see, same for marriage. If you see marriage, right? At the time of marriage, my Dasha was Saturn Dasha. Saturn is in Leo. If you take the 7th from there, Aquarius, Saturn was in Aquarius when I got married. So basically 7th Lord transiting in the 7th from Vimshottari Dasha. And from Chardasha, Scorpio was the Dasha, Lagna Lord in Lagna. So like this basically there are multiple transits from multiple differences which trigger an event. And multiple dashas, when they are conducive, events basically are triggered. It's basically, and now let me show you also Tajika. Let's say, as per Tajika, let's say 2005 first, the spiritual thing, the Vashafal. If you take the Vashafal, in the Vimshamsha chart, Gemini rises now. And the thing is, because Vashafal requires exact time when sun comes to the same degree. Basically, sun changes very fast. So, even if you are off by, let's say, 1 arc minute, how long will sun take to go 1 arc minute? It is basically 60th of a day. So, 60th of a 1 ghadiya, 24 minutes. So, you will be off by 24 minutes. So, if your accuracy of sun's calculation is off by 1 arc minute, your time of Varsha Pravesh, the Varshafal chart, Tajika chart, will be off by 24 minutes. That will change your Dashamsha, not only Dashamsha, everything basically. Your Dashamsha Lagna will change by 2 signs, or maybe even 3 in some cases. So the thing is, sun has to be very accurate. So the thing is, with Surya Siddhanta, assuming that this is accurate, things should be more clear. And in my experience, this was far more consistent than the Tajika chart of Druk Siddhanta. So if you do this, Lagna is Gemini, and the 8th house is the house of experience. It has to be strong. It contains a planet in one sign and a planet in exaltation sign. According to classical dictums, exalted planets and one sign planets are good, and Mulatrikona planets. So one exalted planet Mars and one one sign planet. And the thing is, it's a Dusthana, but the thing is, they are Dusthana lords. Mars is 6th lord, Saturn is 8th lord. So 6th and 8th lords together in the 8th house, in Viparita Rajoga. And moreover, 8th lord in the 8th, which is good for experience. And Rahu is aspecting him. Rahu is in a trine from him. So Rahu Ketu link is also there. And if you look at the Muddha Dasha, which is basically the progress in Jyotish Dasha, which traditionally is used according to Nilakantha, which is to be used in the I'll just use the normal Muddha Dasha. If you use that, the Dasha that was running from 2005 June 10, this is India time 6 a.m. The event happened in US night, so it is basically June 11 India morning. So it is well within this Dasha, Saturn Dasha. So Saturn is the 8th lord in the 8th house, and his Dasha basically gave the event. Similarly, if you go to Tajika and see marriage, 1993 I got married. You say 1993, you will see that Lagna is Sagittarius. If you find the Tajika chart of the Druk Siddhanta, you won't find such consistent results with any Dasha, with either Pacheni Dasha or Muddha Dasha or even Narayan Dasha. But with this you find more consistent results. I won't say perfect, but much better, much better. So you see this chart. Just see the Navamsha. Forget about Rashi. Even in Rashi, 7th lord is in 7th house, and those things are there. Just use Navamsha. Lagna lord, Lagna is Sagittarius. Lagna lord is in 7th house. Whereas 7th lord, how is he placed? In a trine, Mercury. So 7th lord is well placed, and Lagna lord is in the 7th house. So there is a chance of marriage. And if you see Muddha Dasha, Jupiter Dasha was from July 28 to September 16. I got married on August 1st. Let's see the year I got laid off. 2002. I lost my job when the startup folded. So 2002.
The question on this is Muddha Dasha, is this a new one?
It is already there. This is the traditional Dasha that was used with Tajika. Except that we didn't use Tajika that much before. We used Sthiti more. But now I am saying the Tajika chart does work nicely now with the Surya Siddhanta. And this is based on Surya. Surya coming to exactly the same point. So if you see the 2002 chart, okay, in the Dashamsha chart, Lagna is Taurus, and the event happened in Jupiter Dasha. Jupiter Dasha gave the event. And how is Jupiter? 8th lord in the 6th house. He is basically the 8th lord, so he can give a setback in career. And he is afflicting the 10th lord Rahu. So 8th lord and 10th lord together, and Guru Chandala Yoga. So there is a chance of some loss in the career. And if you see 2008, when I got promotion, if you see 2008, if you see the Muddha Dasha, oops, so we'll stop here. It was, what I saw just before I closed was, Leo was the Lagna in the Dashamsha, Venus was the 10th lord, he is in the 5th house. And I think it was Venus, either Venus or Mars Muddha Dasha, or Yokarka. So we'll continue later. But the thing is, and we'll see your example also in the next class. Because I ran out of battery. So, the time? Oh, 8:30. So, the next time I'll get battery. So, the thing is, so where I am is, it's not like we suddenly have a bright sunlight in the room. The room is still dark, but the thing is, suddenly it's almost as though a window has opened and some sunlight is coming. So instead of candle, depending on the candle, some sunlight is coming into the room now. Now what we have to do is open the window fully and actually make sure that more sun comes in, which is not easy, which is not an easy job. And if we become egoistic or try to prove something to people or try to basically, one big problem in finding truth is sticking to lie. If you stick to a lie, you will never find the truth. So you should basically, we should accept that we should let things go. We should not basically cling on to things that don't work, and we should basically be honest and give readings, let them go wrong, learn from them. I mean, if people will say, okay, so and so person gave so many bad readings, who cares? So find something that is working, test it, and then refine it. That's the only way to. And the thing is, what some people say, you can't basically retro test something, some technique and say it is working. That is utter nonsense. It's not, to know that something is working, you don't have to make predictions and wait for 20 years for those predictions to come true. That is nonsense. You can look at retro. Only thing is, when you look at past and see, is this working, is this not working? You have to be honest and you have to be clear in your mind. What is my principle? Is it consistently working? Am I justifying somehow or the other, or are things really straightforward? So, if you are really honest about that, I mean, you may not say honesty to me, but at least in your mind, if you are honest and you have a reasonable idea of what you are doing, it is possible to do a lot with retro analysis. So, it's not that retro analysis is useless. So, collect data, keep the data, test it with a lot of examples, and use various techniques, like so many techniques that we were exposed to earlier. For example, the Patakadi relationships, do they really work? And how do you judge a house? That is the fundamental of astrology. How do you judge a house? Venus is Jagannatha in the 6th house in this chart, right? In this Dasa, something important happened. But also the person was troubled by a lot of weaknesses. So the thing is, what are the good results possible, what are the bad results possible? Why a particular Dasa from in my young age, in my first 20 years of life, I was brilliant in all kinds of education. Why? If I want to explain it based on Saturn Dasa, it makes no sense. Whereas Lagna Lord Mercury in 5th house, in a friend's sign, it makes perfect sense. So like that, basically, be honest and study a lot of examples and basically venture into the unknown.
Do you have a checklist for the recent new learning? Because
Well,
the thing is, suppose I take this chart.
Yeah.
Those few of us who are...
One thing is Charadasha of the divisional chart, provided you know the Lagna in the divisional chart accurately. If it is on the border, you can try both the variations of Charadasha. Because if Lagna changes, Charadasha will change drastically. So Charadasha of the divisional chart is one thing.
But do we use this technique for correcting, rectifying the chart?
I do. And you can also do if you basically become comfortable with
If the timing
it.
is off, then...
Yeah. You see, so let's say somebody says, I got laid off in so-and-so, on so-and-so date. Then find the Charadasha using the two possibilities. Let's say Lagna is either Aries or Pisces, or Taurus or Gemini. Use both. Find the Charadasha. What is the Dasa running at that time? Forget about Antardasha and all those. Just Dasa. Is there a chance that this Dasa will give layoff? And then what are the transits at that time? From this Dasa side, from this Dasa side. Which shows layoff better. The bottom line is
only the Dasa Lord and Dasa and then
the transits from the Dasa. But the thing is, there are some charts which I found where Charadasha doesn't give good results. I have to use Trikona Dasa. Some charts where I have to use Kendra Raj Dasa. Like that, basically, using the right Dasa, whether it's Nakshatra Dasa or Raj Dasa, is still a puzzle. I have some clues at this point of time, but the work is still going on. But the bottom line is, if you use Charadasha, in 75% cases, you will be covered.
Charadasha, the Parasari?
Parasari, yeah. People call it Jaimini Charadasha, but it is also Parasara's Charadasha.
Not the Kiran Rao, the other one.
No, not K. K. Rao also is Parasara's only with a couple of modifications.
What's the difference with Raghavacharya's?
Raghavacharya is his own interpretation. He basically takes Jaimini. See, there is this Raghavacharya, all these people, they have the view that Raghavacharya, no, not
There is a
Raghavacharya.
third one.
Irangandi Rangacharya. His approach is, basically people believe that Parasara's teachings are different, Jaimini's teachings are different. There are two different schools. and you can't mix the two. And but the thing is, Jaimini, he speaks in riddles. He just say, for example, for Drugdasa he says, Kujadis Trikonas Drugdasa, something like that. From Mars, trines Drugdasa. What do you make of it? How can you basically judge it? What is the meaning of it? Right? Like that basically he says, this, that, dhoom dham. Like that is basically all riddles. It's basically one word, totally disconnected. So Jaimini is very tough to interpret. And there are some commentators who try to comment, who are very erudite. So what these people do is they are like Raghav Bhatta. So people go to these commentators and Vishnu Vasuri. People take their interpretation. They assume that these are giants and these are perfect astrologers. They knew what they were talking about and they try to make sense of it using that. But the thing is, Parasara also taught Drugdasa. He also taught Chardasa. He also taught Trikonadasa. And he was far more verbose. He basically says start from the Lagna. If Lagna is if the ninth house is odd-footed or even-footed, he said what are odd-footed signs, what are even-footed signs. And then he said if ninth from Lagna is odd-footed, go forward, otherwise go backward. And cover the 12 houses from Lagna, starting from Lagna. So simple. And to see the Dasa signs, count from the Dasa sign to the Lord. And if the sign, Dasa sign is odd-footed or even-footed, count forward or backward. If the planet is exalted, add one sign, debilitated, subtract one sign. In the case of Scorpio Aquarius, there are two lords, take the stronger one. The one with more planets is stronger, exalted is stronger. In a compared to Chardasa, Sirdasa, Drugdasa, Dasa stronger. Finally, take the one giving more years. So like this, he gave clear rules. So there is some slack, some vagueness in some places, some scope for interpreting, like the strength of planets. But the thing is, because you don't know whether these are the rules to be applied in this order, or these are the various rules and you have to find a combination of these. That's not clear. But in terms of finding Dasa years, exaltation, debilitation, exception and all these things, it's crystal clear. So the thing is, my stake in the ground is, Parasara and Jaimini did not teach two different Chardasas, did not teach two different Drugdasas. There is a way to interpret Jaimini so that he matches Parasara. Then why should I interpret Jaimini in a different way and do something totally complicated? Rangan Rangacharya may be a good scholar of Sanskrit, but his version is just too complicated. It's just messy. So I don't basically, my take is, there is no Jaimini Chardasa. Jaimini also taught Parasara's Chardasa. You are better off paying attention to Parasara because he was far more verbose. You have a better chance of understanding than Jaimini. So to answer you, Chardasa of different chart is one dasa that with transits is one thing that I found to be working. And the Tajaka Varshapal chart and of course Tithi Pravesh chart still works using this also.
The question on that is what is the major difference between TP and the Tajakas?
Well,
both are annual charts.
Both are annual charts and both seem to be pointing at the events. But in my opinion, Tajaka seems to be working even better.
Are they based on different calculations?
Yeah, Tajaka is based on sun coming to the same place. Tithi Pravesh is based on moon coming to the same angle from sun in the same lunar month. It's the same lunar month, same lunar day, and same lunar fraction of the day. So that's the thing. So, and if you ask me 6 months later, I may give you another set of things. I may say this works beautifully. But the thing is, so far what I am doing is things that I'm comfortable with. Things that at least in a good percentage of charts are working in a very simple way, without twisting, lot of twisting and lot of beating around the bush. Things that are very simple. I'm basically finding out at this point of time. And slowly, over the next few years, this will become more complicated. There will be far finer techniques and using the exact longitudes, etc. They will evolve. But the thing is, the good news is my feeling is we have a reasonably solid foundation now in terms of calculations of the planets. So it is easier to, when you have a solid foundation, it is easier to jump here and there and find out the good spots and bad spots, etc. Whereas when you have some shaky foundation, you may jump and land back safely one time, but another time you may fall down when you have a shaky foundation. So I suggest to people, those who are here as well as those who are listening to the audio, to experiment with the Surya Siddhanta when it is available and see if it makes sense. And if you are not confident with it, you may stick to what we have been doing so far. The thing is, try to experiment with it. Okay? So with that I'll end this class and actually start seeing some examples other than me. Om Shanti Shanti. शांति शांति लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु सर्वे धार्मिक जना सुखिनो भवन्तु यावद्भूमण्डले सनातन धर्मो वर्धतु विशेषतः भरतखण्डे ओम शांति 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 सर्वं श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु।